All right. So for today, we're going to be looking at a different topic, and it's exploring the results kitchen, the hot, the cold, and the pastry kitchen. These are three major sections in the kitchen, in the results kitchen. And there are some standards, techniques, organization, error, and practice that you all need to have in mind. Okay, so I might actually rush through some things and not touch on some things, but however, I'm going to share the material so everybody will be able to go through them. So, what exactly are the three main departments in the kitchen? We have the cold kitchen, or you can otherwise call it the cold production. Number two is the hot kitchen or the hot production. And lastly, the pastry. What do you do in the cold kitchen? That's where you make salads, dressings, appetizer, and anything that has to do with cold things that has to be stored in the fridge. In the hot kitchen, that's where you have places where you make your pasta, the main course, the sauces, the meat, the fish, anything fried. And in the pastry, we have creams, cake, and breakfast items. Each department requires different techniques, different hygiene level, different time management, and specific tools. Students must all know the basics, even if you're assigned to one department at a time. Um, Last week we looked at the buffet. So there are sometimes it depends on the results you are being posted to. In some particular results, you might be assigned to work in a particular section. Like for example, you might be assigned to work in the kitchen, like in the hot kitchen, and sometimes might be assigned to work in the cold kitchen and in the pastry. And depending on your schedule, sometimes you work full time in your section, and sometimes you might actually have half of your time in your section and then half of your time working in the buffet. It's still the same. So, for example, today you might be in charge of making pasta, meaning that during buffet service, you also will be in the hot kitchen making pasta. You will not leave the station. And in other times, you might actually not actually be in the kitchen full time. You might actually be in the kitchen part time, making something very simple. Or you might actually be in the cold kitchen making salads part time, and then you'll be assigned to work in the buffet to serve. So it varies. However, you have to know that we have three major sections in the kitchen. So typically, this is exactly what a cold kitchen looks like. It looks cold, yeah. And then we have big industrial freezers in the cold section, and some of the features include the fact that it is the most delicate section of the kitchen because it has a very high HACCP risk. Germs can easily come in, and I don't know if it's going to happen during your time, but most times we have inspectors coming in to check the kitchen, especially the cold section. They come to like check on how sanitized and hygienic it is because you cannot serve guests things that will actually cause harm to them. So we have officers from the government that come in to come and inspect the hotel kitchens. So another feature is that it's the most visible to the guests. Literally, everybody can easily see through with the code section. It has the richest and raw ingredients because we have big industrial refrigerator. That means that we store majority of our raw and semi-raw ingredients in this section. It's the most influential in the visual impact of the buffet. Now, example of dishes that are produced in the cold section, in the cold kitchen, is the vegetarian dish, cold cuts, cheese boards, appetizer, mixed salads, marinated vegetables, tomatoes, anything that can be stored in the fridge is always produced in the cold kitchen. And it's actually very simple. It's a very, very easy department as long as you master the different type of cut techniques and you're also open to learn more. So I would say it's the easiest section of the kitchen. Yes. And we also have equipment that you can actually make use of in the code section. And mind you, it depends on the type of result you are going to. I do not know all the results, so I cannot say categorically they have the same machines, but some are more advanced than the other. So we do have different machines that make your cutting very easy. So key techniques that are perfect for cutting. Students must be able to cut ingredients uniformly. You must respect portion weights. You must work in a clean and orderly manner. When we're talking about cutting uniformly, we have discussed cutting in the last 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Yes, we discussed cutting and different types of cutting. You will also be introduced to different types of cutting because not all of it might have been touched during our last class. So you must be able to cut uniformly. If this is the particular style of cut that you are being expected to deliver, you have to do it uniformly. You have to respect portion weights. You have to be able to clean up after doing your work. You don't have to leave it for the cleaners to come and do it eventually. Yes, they still eventually clean up the place. We have cleaners that will actually clean the whole kitchen area. However, once you are done with cutting, especially cutting, because it's cutting you do in the code section. If you are assigned to the cutting section, to the code section, if you are done with your cutting, you have to be able to clean up. If you use the particular machine to slice a particular vegetable, you have to be able to clean up immediately after use because somebody else might want to use it. You don't have to be lazy about it. You quickly, after cutting, you arrange yourself and clean up the area. Then you have to note that poorly cut cold dishes is equal to poor looking buffet. If your cut is not uniform, it's not good, it will give out a poor looking buffet. I don't know if some of you have made salads before, but if you make different types of salad and your salad is looking, the cutting of the salads, of the vegetables are not uniform, they're all looking yucky, your salad will not look very enticing to even eat. So if they are well cut, you will notice that, yeah, I'm actually drawn to eat them. So now let's look at some required professional techniques. Number one, professional washing of vegetables. You have to know that we have different types of vegetables. I believe you guys should know vegetables. So you have to understand that in as much that the vegetables are coming from maybe well-reputable factories, you also have to know that you have to clean them. They might appear clean, but you still have to do the work of cleaning it. So you have to rinse your bowl. You get 2 bowls or zincs or whatever you are using to rinse. You disinfect, depending on the protocol, and then you do a final rinse. And sometimes you can dry, but not necessarily. So, and then you also proceed to cutting and storage. You cover whatever you have cut with a clean film. So there's always provision for covering of whatever it is that you have cut to avoid infection or exposure. So for the next part is the salad assemble. You do not dress salads too early. What I mean by that is after you've cut the vegetables, you have stored the vegetables. Mind you, sometimes you can actually cut ahead of the time when the vegetable is needed. You cut and store in the freezer, and then when it's time, that is when the salads are being brought out. So you have to actually store in a very, very good way, so as for other people not to mix different things with what you have. There was one time we were working in the kitchen and somebody went into our industrial freezer, and there was a huge mess that occurred because I think she placed something on something else in the fridge, and then everything just crumbled, or like just poured away. The tomato mixed with the garbage and everything was just a very big mess. So you have to be able to store correctly. Once you are done with cutting and you have sealed your vegetables, you have to make sure that you place whatever you have very carefully in the fridge if you are assigned to do so. So now, salad assemble. You don't dress your salad. Sometimes you dress your salad during the buffet service. You might not actually necessarily dress the salad immediately after cutting. So managing the cold buffet in dining room, you use clean cutleries, avoid dripping and spilling of water around, and then you replace trays that look messy and unappetizing. If errors like maybe things like what I mentioned, like pouring of different things occurred, you have to be fast to be able to replace and to clean up the mess. Now, what are the common errors in the cold section? Number one, your salads are already dressed. That's not supposed to be. Salads are not dressed immediately. You can cut your different vegetables and store them, but you don't dress them up. Irregular cuts, uncovered food in the fridge. Yes, it's a very big mistake. Like I said, after cutting, the next thing to do is to seal your cuts, your vegetables. Number five, cross contamination with meat and fish. Maybe you were in the hot section before and then you came to the cold section to assist, and then they gave you a particular vegetable, maybe tomatoes, to cut, and then you use the same knife you used to cut fish to cut the tomatoes. It's gonna cause a cross contamination. Yes, Elizabeth.
Sorry, can you help me to explain this to oxidizing vegetables? Can you explain it because I don't understand?
Meaning that you have to make use of, sometimes you have to use vinegar or lime to preserve your vegetable.
Okay.
It's actually very rare, and most times you don't do it. Most times, so the best practice is you follow instruction. Most times you are not assigned to do that, but if you
Oh,
are, yes, you can make use of that.
okay,
Another
thank you.
common error in the code section is poor aesthetics. Like I said, uneven cuts, all of them causes poor aesthetics. Now let's move on to the next one, the hot section, the hot kitchen. As you can see in this image, it is more chaotic than the cold section. The cold section is always cool and calm, and okay, maybe because it's looking clean right now, but most times it's always filled. You hold this platform are always filled with vegetables, but as soon as everything is all done, they are always looking cool and calm. So most people like to work in the cold kitchen because it's cool and it's the summertime and it's very hot in the hot section. So some people, I'm very sure majority of you will actually love to work in the cold kitchen. However, some of you will also be assigned to the hot kitchen. So this is a view of exactly what you see in the hot kitchen, and this is not an exaggeration. It is real. It's always chaotic, and lots of things are always going on, even during the service. So now, what are the major features of this? We have mass cooking, temperature control, perfect regeneration, pot holding, fast kitchen dining flow, and this must guarantee tight timing, standard dishes, zero cooking errors, zero cross contaminations. Please, if you have questions like Elizabeth did, please kindly note them down because I am trying to cover as much as possible on time today. Okay, so the next thing, what are the fundamental technique practices? Number one, the recipe standardization. In the odd section, there is no time, there's no allowance for mess ups. So you have to follow the recipe to the core. Sometimes you might have uneven cuts in the code section, and then they might be like, okay, we can just make use of it, mix it up, and then yeah, we'll cover up for the mistake. But in the hot section, there's no chance for messing up. You have to like follow protocol and do the best. It's just like, for example, going to McDonald's, for example, and you order the burger, and then the burger is tasting very salty. That means somebody slipped up, somebody made a mistake, and it's a bad thing. It's a bad reputation to them. And some customers are nice enough to just tell you, and some customers are not because it's not their responsibility to be nice because they paid for the services. So you have to learn how to follow the recipe. Every recipe must include weights, cooking methods, times, quantity of seasoning, regeneration method, and serving temperature. However, mind you, in the code section, it's more of learning as you go, learn as you go. Yes. So there is no time for you to be sat down and told and explained to this is how you cut the vegetables, this is how you mix the pasta. No, there's no time for that. You have to watch. Sometimes you are assigned there, you watch and you learn. And sometimes you are walk as you go, learn as you go. That is, as you are making the pasta, you must be learning. So somebody will be there to actually maybe monitor you or not, but you have to learn as you go. Okay, so another key feature and technique of the hot section is most of the cooking is done with a very popular oven, which is called the combi oven. It is the king of the hot kitchen, yes. Its main use is for roasts, fishes, vegetable, lasagna, pasta, bakes, and rice. I don't think I have an image of it here, but yes, it's a very big deal in the kitchen because it's the king of the kitchen. Another important thing for you to notice, we have industrial pasta cooker. I don't know if you have seen it before, but I don't think I have a picture of it either. You can actually browse online and you see it. It's used for making pasta. It's fast and it's a standardized cooking tool. Now, hot sauces are also made in the kitchen. We have basic sauces like tomato sauce, roast juice, and so on and so forth. Now, what are the typical hot dishes in the result? You know that anything that is hot is also it should be from the hot kitchen. So we have baked pasta, regenerated pasta, roast chicken, pork, turkey, baked fish, vegetables, quick fried items like fries or chips sometimes, rice, stew, and what have you. Now, what are the main critical issues in the hot kitchen? Lukewarm dishes is a very serious error. If your rice is supposed to be warm and it is just lukewarm, your guest will reject it. However, most times during the summer, we we they rarely make warm rice. It's always this rice salad that is always cold. So that one's fine. But in cases of pasta, for example, you don't have lukewarm pasta. It has to be served hot. And uneven cooking. I don't know if some of you have experienced it before, where maybe the top of your rice is not cooked and then the bottom is overcooked. That is what we call uneven cooking. So it's a very main critical issue. Everything has to be properly cooked. Buns from the oven, yes. Maybe when you were making lasagna and then your lasagna is a burnt offering, is a very main critical issue. Excessive seasoning. There's too much salt in the meal. The guest will definitely, you will get complaints that it is too much, and you will also notice that people are not eating your meal if you're the one in charge. Now, number 5, wrong regeneration. You are maybe overwarming the meal or underwarming it. Number 6, not using the core probes. Number 7, poor timing management. You understand that in time very soon. Now, the last section that we'll look at today is the pastry. The pastry is actually more aesthetically pleasing in the sense that it's always looking sweet and enticing. In most cases, if you don't have experience working in the pastry, maybe before, sometimes you might not be assigned to this section of the kitchen because it has to do with a little bit of experience as well. So, what are the key features of the pastry? In the pastry, you're not looking for a very high standard of baking. We are actually dealing with a functional pastry in the sense that you're not looking for a lot of aesthetics to say, like a lot of complicated pastry. It's just something simple and functional. It has to be clean, visible, and easy to portion. For example, this cake is something very simple. You will notice maybe when you go work or if you're assigned to this place, you'll notice that most of this is not cake, it's mostly cream. And you'll be shocked, I don't know, because where I come from, we eat more of cake and less of cream. However, in the result pastry, you have more of cream because it's very easy and it's clean and it's very simple. And then you notice that just this tiny slice is the cake, so you don't have to do too much work. And typical production is simple cakes, creams, tarts, cookies, pound cakes, spoon desserts, puddings, anything very simple, not too complicated, is done in the pastry. Number 3, fundamental. Okay, sorry. Some of the fundamental techniques are simple creams. I've mentioned we have different type of creams. We have basic doughs, sponge cakes, baking and cooling. We have controlled baking times, using the fridge or blast chiller. And then yes, they also serve ice cream, but a simpler form of ice cream, not too complicated. And there has to be precise cutting. The portion of a particular cake, maybe you are serving a cake, it has to be the same across board, because I don't know if some of you know that children and teenagers are drawn to the pastry sections, meaning that if there's a difference in a particular type of cut, they will definitely notice, and it will be brought to your notice that maybe you are cheating somebody. So you have to be very precise in your cutting and have a consistent portion. And attention is drawn to appearance. Like you can see in this picture, it's looking very, very good to eat. And if it's not like that, then we have an issue. Now, critical issue in the result pastry, you have to make sure that it is aesthetically pleasing. There's no cross-contamination with your savory, and your dessert is not melting. That is maybe your ice cream is not melting. You have to be controlled. There's always a freezer in the pastry for desserts. Now, coordination between departments. We have looked at the 3 sections in the kitchen. You have to understand that there has to be coordination between these departments, even though there are 3 different sections. Just like how you have different parts of your body, they have different function. Your eyes is for seeing, your hand is for maybe carrying and handling things, your legs are for movement. They have different function, but they have to be coordinated together. If they don't work as one, your body will not function together as one. So now the result kitchen is a complex machine, yes, but departments must actually work together. So now what are the required coordination? The code section influences the dining room. The odd section influences timing. And the pastry influences final satisfaction. What do I mean by that? The code section actually, when you say influences the dining room, it means that the visual impact is more on the code section, meaning your salads, your desserts is always the responsibility of the code section. And if it's not well handled, there will be no physical impact. There will be no aesthetically pleasing meals in the buffet. While the odd section has to do with timing, you have to be on time. When service begins in the buffet service, things like pasta, roast, chicken, pork are expected to be refilled constantly by the hot sections. Like I said, some people might be full-time in the hot sections, and some people might be full-time in the cold section, and sometimes you can be full-time in the pastry. But it is rare for you to not work in one of these departments. So working in one of these sections will require you to actually be fast, especially in the hot section. You have to be able to work with timing. If pasta is being served, a particular pasta is being served, you are supposed to be able to refill periodically. Pastry influences the final satisfaction, meaning that pastry is mostly dessert. It's something that is taken after maybe your main meal. So it has to give a final satisfaction of sweetness in it. Now, what are the frequent errors that you can find in any of these sections? Number 1, disorder. Number 2, incorrect temperature. Number 3, lack of the line. Number 4, neglected aesthetics. That is why last week I was talking about making sure that when you're working in the buffet service, you have to be able to maintain a clean workspace, meaning that having a clean workspace does not only mean that you are clean and attracting guests to your section, it also appeals to the guests when they come into the buffet. It gives an aesthetically pleasing place, because just imagine if you are walking into a buffet service and then everything is all messed up. There's a mess on the ground, on your section, everything is looking all yucky. I don't know if some of you, this is not an insult, but I know that most times on TikTok, if you notice, there are some I don't know how to say this without making it sound like an offense, but there are some videos you watch and then you see some people having some businesses in some parts of the country, and you instantly know where they are from, and then you be like, oh no, this is a particular country and it's just known for making their meal in a dirty environment. And then the first thing that comes to your mind is that, am I safe to eat from this person? So you have to actually maintain a clean workspace and have an even portion. If you are serving in portions, you have to serve evenly. Now, another frequent error is poor communication. between yourself and the people in the kitchen. You might not be in the kitchen, you might be in the buffet service. If you don't have proper communication, maybe you are serving a particular pasta, your pasta is running down. You have to tell them there's always a person, there's an intermediate person that's always working to always inform the kitchen that they should actually make a refill for your meal. So you have to be able to communicate in time. Another frequent error is no control over sources, trays refilled badly and giving a terrible appearance. Number 10 is poor hygiene of utensils, using one utensil for another dish and also using it for another dish, and all creates a very big mess. So now it's very important to note that in a result, one single department in trouble can compromise the entire service. I don't know if some of you have worked in a buffet or in a kitchen before in Italy, or during the buffet service, before it's time for us to like open the buffet to the clients, you notice that the chef is always up and running, making sure that everything is set from if there are meals from the hot section that is pending, it will delay the service. It has to all be working together for a single purpose. Because any department in trouble, you might feel that I'm in the code section, I'm safe. It will definitely compromise the entire service because it's to draw back on everything. So we are all working together as one. However, we also have to know that we have to follow protocols and avoid errors. And if at all you find yourself lacking, you have to be able to snap out of it and also rectify whatever situation that's occurred. Now, that brings me to one particular thing that happened during the last summer that I'd like to share with you guys. So, there was this time I was assigned to, I can't remember what exactly I was supposed to slice. I was supposed to slice something with a particular machine. Oh, I think it's cheese. Yes, cheese. And so, as I was placing the cheese into the machine to slice, I felt the cheese was not going in smoothly, and I thought of like maybe I could just like have a little help to just push it down. And then I thought of getting a knife, a very tiny knife, and it had a plastic handle. Mind you, I was told not to use that before, but then I was like, oh, it will make it faster. And so I used the knife to keep on pushing the cheese. I got away with it for like a few times. And then there was this time I think maybe I slipped and the knife just went into the machine. And it was a disaster. And I felt, oh, it was just a small issue. But then it actually was a big issue because then it will affect the next person that wants to make use of the machine because they have to fix it immediately. So in cases like that, you have to be very careful to follow instructions because if I had followed the instruction, I would have avoided such an error. And then if anybody else wanted to make use of the machine, they will have just easily made use of it after I used it. But then I did not follow instruction and then I made a mistake and then it affected maybe the next person that was supposed to use the machine after me and slowed down the production in the kitchen. However, the issue was resolved, but the knife was damaged and also I also affected the knife because somebody else might have wanted to use the knife. So one particular mess up is a huge thing in the kitchen because it affects different part of the kitchen. So you also have to know how to follow instructions and not try to jump the gun. So you should note that together we ensure the future of our services and you can actually do it. It's